Ministry of Health spokesman Dr. Abdullah Sanad announced Wednesday 3 more persons have tested positive for being infected with the coronavirus over the past 24 hours. Dr. Sanad told the Daily Press briefing that one of the infected persons had traveled to the Islamic Republic of Iran. An Egyptian and a Sudanese were in close contact with an infected person who had come from Azerbaijan. The spokesman said there are 5 infected persons at the intensive care unit, including 1 in critical condition and 4 are stable. He announced the total number of people who have been infected with the contagious disease stands at 70, adding 2 of the patients had recovered. Turkey urged Russia on Wednesday to deal with alleged violations of a week-old ceasefire by Syrian government forces in Idlib, the latest bastion of resistance to President Bashar al-Assad. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan agreed a truce last week with his Russian counterpart, President Vladimir Putin, who supports government forces, but previous deals have proved temporary. Turkey launched a military operation in Syria after more than 50 of its soldiers were killed in Idlib last month. Defense Minister said talks were proceeding in a constructive fashion with Russia to launch a joint patrol along the key M4 road in Idlib on Sunday, as agreed under the ceasefire deal. Washington's special envoy for Syria has signaled that the U.S. is exploring NATO involvement in Idlib and said that any violations of the truce in the Syrian province could be punished with sanctions. The State Department said in a statement, James Jeffrey arrived in Brussels on Tuesday to meet with NATO allies and discuss ways to support Turkey's security concerns. In a conference call with reporters, Jeffrey said that Washington is looking at what NATO can do for Turkey in Idlib and that everything is on the table. He reportedly warned that the United States could respond with sanctions if Russia or Syria violate the ceasefire brokered in Moscow between Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin last week. A spokesman for the president's office said on Wednesday Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani signed a decree to facilitate the release of some Taliban prisoners in Afghan jails. Spokesman Sadiq Siddiqui said President Ghani has signed the decree that would facilitate the release of the Taliban prisoners in accordance with an accepted framework for the start of negotiation between the Taliban and the Afghan government. He added that details of the decree will be shared on Thursday. At least 1,000 Taliban prisoners are expected to be released this week, 5 official sources said earlier, paving the way for opening direct talks between the Afghan government and the Taliban insurgents. But the Taliban want the Afghan government to release 5,000 fighters. Former Premier Mahathir Mohamad said on Wednesday Malaysia's Prime Minister will survive a no-confidence vote in Parliament. Premier Mahathir, who is 94 years old, led the country from 1981 to 2003 and made a surprise return to power in 2018, defeating an alliance that had governed for more than 60 years and one he himself had led as premier. But his latest stint as Prime Minister ended with his shock resignation on February 24th, a day after some of his coalition partners were seen in talks with his opponents. Mahathir said that he no longer commanded a majority in parliament after some supporters abandoned him to join the Prime Minister's camp. U.S. former Vice President Joe Biden was the projected winner in 3 of the Democratic presidential primaries held on Tuesday in 6 states, with Michigan being the biggest prize he secured. This comes as a major blow to his rival Senator Bernie Sanders, who had won Michigan 4 years ago against 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Biden also won the primaries in the states of Mississippi and Missouri, expanding his delegates over Sanders, securing 125 delegates just from the state of Michigan. Turkey announced Wednesday its first case of the novel coronavirus while stressing that all precautionary measures were being taken. Health Minister said a male citizen tested positive for the coronavirus. The minister said the infected individual contracted the virus after returning from Europe, he has been completely isolated. Turkey last month closed its border with Iran, which has been hard hit by the virus, and cancelled all flights to the country. The Sindh Health Department reported 9 new cases of coronavirus in Karachi, the highest count of the epidemic since it was first detected in the country last month, taking the total tally to 13 in the province and 16 in the country. Sindh Chief Minister said that all government and private hospitals to share the record of all the patients with symptoms of phenomena with the Health Ministry so that their medical investigation could be done to contain the spread of virus. Confirming the fresh cases, the Provincial Health Ministry said the department was in the process of tracking down all those with whom they came in contact recently for further testing. Italians praised for a second day of national lockdown on Wednesday after a sharp spike in coronavirus-related deaths as New York deployed the National Guard to contain a disease that has sown worldwide panic. Europe's hardest-hit country said the death toll from the COVID-19 virus had risen on Tuesday by the third to 631, with the surging epidemic playing havoc with global sporting, cultural, and political events. While authorities in China, where the outbreak began, have declared it basically curbed, cases are multiplying around the world, sparking panic buying in shops and wild swings on financial markets. Britain's Minister of State for Health Affairs, Nadine Dorries, said Wednesday that she has tested positive for coronavirus. In a statement, Minister Dorries said that as soon as she was informed, she took all the advised precautions and had been self-isolating at home. It comes as a sixth person died from the virus in the UK, which has a total of 382 cases. The latest person to die, who was in his early 80s, had underlying health conditions. Health officials are warning routine appointments at surgeries may have to stop as the number of coronavirus cases rises. The number of novel coronavirus cases in the U.S. surged past 1,000 on Tuesday after public health experts criticized authorities for downplaying the epidemic and lagging behind in testing efforts. At least 28 people have died and 1,025 people have been infected, according to a running tally by Johns Hopkins University, nearly double the 550 total confirmed cases the day before. The rise is linked to an expansion in testing as the bulk of diagnoses have shifted from federal to state laboratories. The provincial government of Hubei province said in a notice on Wednesday key industries in the central Chinese city of Wuhan, epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak that has claimed more than 4,000 lives to date, will resume work. The notice said key sectors such as public transport, medical supply, and producers of daily necessity in Wuhan, capital of Hubei province, will be allowed to return to work. The notice stated other industries that impact national or global supply chains can also return to work with permission from relevant authorities. Days before the first anniversary of a shooting in Christchurch that killed 51 Muslim worshippers, a post appeared on an encrypted messaging app showing a balaclava-clad man outside one of the attacked mosques with a thread and a gun emoji. The message was the latest in a number of threats against minorities in New Zealand, evidence of what experts said is an increase in hate crime and xenophobia since the mosque massacre by a suspected white supremacist on March 15th last year. The gunman, armed with semi-automatic weapons, attacked Muslims attending Friday prayers in the South Island's largest city, broadcasting New Zealand's worst mass shooting live on Facebook. CEO Amin Nasser said on Wednesday Saudi Aramco will raise its crude supply, which includes oil, to its customers inside the kingdom and abroad to 12.3 million barrels per day in April. The CEO said April's crude supply will be 300,000 barrels per day over the company's maximum sustained capacity of 12 million barrels per day. He added the company had agreed with its customers to provide those volumes starting April the 1st. Supply to the market from production may differ depending on the movement of barrels in and out of storage. The unprecedented hike in crude supply by Riyadh follows the collapse of talks between OPEC and other producers led by Russia, a grouping known as OPEC Plus, which had sought to extend their joint efforts to curb supply beyond the end of March.